Once upon a time, computers did words and letters and numbers. Then all of a sudden everybody wanted graphics, hot graphics, fast graphics, animations, 3D simulations. In fact, it was the quest for great graphics that led to this box, the 3DO game console. Yeah, gameplay is important, but no game can make it these days without great computer art. Today we'll take a look at computer art, from drawing programs for beginners to powerful 3D design tools for professionals. Digital art on this edition of the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by Hewlett-Packard, working with industry leaders to ensure compatibility across the board and across the network. HP PCs, you're looking at partnership in a whole new light.
The Computer Chronicles is also made possible by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy.
Welcome to the Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee. With me today is Craig Clevenger of HSC Software, guys who make Kai's Power Tools, and also something new called KPT Bryce. Craig, I'm glad you're here because I've had KPT Bryce sitting on my desk for a couple of weeks trying to figure out what to do with it. So show me what this software does.
This software generates photorealistic three-dimensional landscapes. Does so simply through either a selection of presets you can choose from with your own pre-rendered sky, terrain, or ground. And by shuffling amongst these presets, you can create an object, create a scene, open this up and start rendering, or you can build from scratch. Simply building from scratch means creating a ground with this icon, a terrain object, which is a mountain or an island or what have you. We have a selection of primitives here that aren't like modeling primitives, but we do include for your reference. And I can navigate through camera controls with this control rather than having 4 windows at once, which makes the interface much easier to look at. Editing, I can select my objects and resize them, or reposition them and rotate them if I'd like, and select a texture. Now this is a very powerful texture editor, but briefly, we've shipped this with some presets to make your life a little easier, and I can control some of the properties in these presets, or create my own as well. The sky modeler is very important because this is not a backdrop or a texture mapped inside of a sphere. Rather, it's a three-dimensional, what we call virtual environment. It actually mimics the laws of nature. If I reposition my sunlight, the time of day changes, and if I move my clouds, my cloud covering changes. And I can also change the color of these if I get bored with reality. I can make my clouds, fog, and haze any color I'd like. And from there, I render. This scene would look something like this we did during rehearsal. Here's my demonstration render. Now, this particular image took, I believe, 8 minutes to render with this texture. Yeah. And if I don't like something, I can always come through and wipe it out if I'd like, or re-render it as well.
The rendering took about 8 minutes, but literally this is this landscape you created in just a minute or two just using these tools.
Exactly. And ideally you want to have renderings that take much longer. Give your Macintosh something to do.
All right, now I know what to do. I'm going to play with it. All right, today we will show you how to use your computer to create great works of art, or at least some fun graphic designs. One of the raps on computer art programs is that they are hard to learn. We wanted to find out how steep that learning curve really is. To do that, we visited Corinne Okada, a computer art teacher in San Francisco.
Corinne was hired recently as a tutor by the design firm of Rucker Huggins in Mountain View, California. Her job was to teach a promising young artist all about Macintosh drawing and painting programs.
Rucker Huggins gave me a call, and he told me about this designer that he would like to work with him, but he had no computer experience. He was very good, but didn't have the computer skills, and Hal didn't have the time to sit down and teach him.
Making the shift from pen and ink to tablet and screen has become easier with the advent of faster hardware and more sophisticated software. But there are still some aspects of the computer that take getting accustomed to.
I think I can get used to it. Yeah, the difference is that you have a little bit to wait until you see what you're doing, and that you watch straight and you move down here. That's something I think you get used to it. It needs training, and then I can work with it.
Andreas, a Swiss art student, worked for several weeks with Corinne, learning the basics of Adobe Photoshop, Illustrator, Painter, and Quark Express in preparation for a real-world assignment. Once installed at his workstation at Rucker-Huggins, Andreas was given the task of designing a logo for a new financial software package. He began by sketching his designs onto paper and later drawing directly to the computer screen with varying degrees of success.
It was interesting to watch him work because when he did his pencil sketches on paper, they were really strong and you could tell that he's a talented illustrator. And then when he tried to do it in Adobe Illustrator, it just lost a lot and looked very flat, and it looked like he didn't know what he was doing, basically. And then what we decided to do was have him scan in his sketches and use those sketches as a template to work in Illustrator. And then it really started to show improvement, and he's been refining them for a week or so now, and they look really, really strong.
Rucker-Huggins decided to pay the cost of training Andreas because they saw potential in his work, but the need to find and train graphic artists reflects a deeper problem.
In a sense, it's an act of desperation because I'm constantly looking for people to hire, and it's very difficult to find people who are talented and aren't afraid to do things on a computer. And I looked at Andreas's book, and I just thought his work was very beautiful, and it was probably worth the risk.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Giles Bateman.
Let's start with two simple art programs that are fairly easy to use and will cost you less than $100. Michelle Welsh is here to show us Smart Sketch for Windows, and over there John Derry will soon show us Dabbler from Fractal Design. Michelle, let's start with Smart Sketch. This is brand new on the market. How's it different from other drawing programs which have been out there before?
Well, Smart Sketch is the first precision or vector drawing program that has tools that are typically found in paint programs, like an eraser.
Like what?
Well, the eraser, brush, and lasso. Let me show you how the brush works. We have brush modes which allow you to do some really unique effects. Like I can scribble inside an area and you'll notice how it automatically clips. So if you're one of those types of people that has trouble staying within the lines, you can just draw and it automatically will clip inside the area that you start painting in. The other thing is any of these lines can be reshaped just by pulling on them. So you can actually reshape your brush strokes. Smart Sketch is the first precision drawing program to have an eraser. So you can erase parts of your drawing and still have the ability to pull and reshape those lines. I can also lasso parts of my drawing and then grab parts of that and pull it away. So you can imagine what you can do with your high-resolution Windows meta files and EPS files. Smart Sketch also has shape recognition, which allows you to draw shapes on screen that kind of helps you out.
So you're drawing kind of sloppy figures, if you don't mind my saying so, and it's making them squares and circles.
Exactly. And if you're one of those that likes to sketch rough and clean it up later, you can just clean it up just by a push of a button and clean up your drawings automatically. Also, think about how you would go about creating a cube on paper. Well, you do it the same way in Smart Sketch. You actually draw lines which connect the corners, and you can create a cube very easily. I'm going to draw it off here, and I can grab that and reshape it.
So again, you can kind of clean it up real easily if you make a mistake.
Exactly. I can also tap on any line segment and press the delete key on the keyboard and delete those lines. And it's still a full editable Bezier curve, which can be filled just by using the paint bucket. Smart Sketch also has some very powerful text capabilities. You can select parts of your text, choose paint selection, and just kind of scribble over the text, and you'll see that the graphic or the brushstroke that I did will clip to the text. And the text is still fully editable. I can just grab a line and pull on it.
Well, you have something called Easy Art. What is that, Michelle?
Yeah, Easy Art is these clip art books which you can drag and drop pieces from them to create unique and custom drawings. We have up to 600 pieces of clip art available through these Easy Art books. You can also click here and turn any of the Easy Art from black and white to color, or you can tear them off and look at them on the screen. You can also zoom up to 1600% zooming to get some real detailed editing.
All right, you also have some sort of teacher help mode for real novices like me who wanted to use this?
Yes, the unique thing about our lessons, which we call learning lessons, is that you can do them all on screen. They're all interactive. And this kind of shows you we have designing logos, designing headlines. We also have a lesson to get you up to speed real quick.
Now I noticed, Michelle, you're using that Wacom little mini tablet there. Just tell me about it, and is it necessary to have that to use the program?
I'm demoing using the Wacom Art Pad, and it's not necessary to use Smart Sketch. You can use a standard mouse. It's just there's some features like pressure sensitivity, which you get if you are using a tablet.
Okay, Smart Sketch, very neat. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go over here and take a look at Dabbler from Fractal Design. How you doing, John?
Good, sir.
We talked earlier in the program, John, that some of these art programs are hard to learn to use, and one of the things Dabbler is known for is its very easy to use interface. Show us the interface first of all.
Okay. Well, one of the things we did in designing this was we really wanted to appeal and make it easy to work with a broad range of individuals, all the way from children to adults. And the notion of using a drawer as a organizing principle allows us to have a very small amount of tools on the screen at any given time. However, one click or mouse press will very quickly open that drawer.
So you open the drawer and similar tools are found in each of those drawers as you might store them in a studio.
Right. Right. One of the things we've done also is when you work with tools, Dabbler keeps track of usage, and what that means is when I click on a tool and it comes forward to the front of the drawer, what's going to happen is it's going to replace the least recently used tool. As a result, what tends to be on the front of the drawer are the very tools that you've been using. Another feature of Dabbler that's important is the color. Anybody who works with art works with color. And we supply in another drawer a set of 18 different pre-configured palettes. However, everybody kind of has their own feelings about color, so these are very easily changeable by the users to get exactly the kind of palette they want. And we also provide you with a color palette to be able to get at any color. We've designed it once again kind of based on the traditional art theory metaphor here, so that you select hue on the color wheel, and then you get to the various permutations of saturation and value in the triangle. So a combination of these two controls gives you a very visual way to get at just about any color.
Can you pick different textures to draw on with Dabbler?
Yes, Dabbler does come with textures as well. So we have our papers drawer here, where I have a wide variety of textures. Just as an example, let's clear the screen. And a lot of art media don't just drop color down, but they also are about texture. So if I go in here and paint with, in this case, a chalk tool, notice that, and we'll get a dark color here so it's very visible, notice how the paper grain is becoming part of the stroke. So one of the hallmarks of Dabbler and all Fractal products is our ability to use paper grain.
And you have this nice sound feedback also, right? You really feel like you're using that particular
medium. Right. Throughout the application, we use sound as kind of an additional cue to the user that an action has taken place to let them know that they're in the correct mode.
One of the things you do nicely here is, to use a boring term, file management, but a way to keep up with the different things you've created. Show me that part.
Okay. Sure. Again, kind of using kids as a target, we realized, smaller children don't have an ability to go to, the file menu and type in a name. So we created what we call the sketch pad. And the sketch pad is, again, a visual metaphor just like the traditional one. And by clicking on the pages, I can actually move through various pages on the screen. I can also, if I want to remove a page, I can actually throw it into the trash. If I want to relocate a page, I can easily put it onto the push pin. I can also add new pages.
Yeah. Now the other cool thing here, you can actually do tracing here, right? Show me how you do that.
Okay, let's load up the image of my daughter here. And normally, Dabbler the paper is opaque. When I click on this icon, what that does is it's going to tell it, and let's put a fresh, clean sheet of paper in front of it, of course. So we'll drag it down to there. Now when I click on this, you'll see it's actually transparent. When I close the drawer, this becomes the active picture with the drawing kind of in transparency underneath the top layer. So if I go in now and start to draw, I'm actually using that underlying imagery as a source. So as much as I want to actually sit and draw with this, I can. I can also shut off the tracing paper at any time, so I can continue to work on it.
All right, in the time we have left, I want you to show me the Learn mode, which is really cool in this.
Okay, we teamed up with Walter Foster. They're the premier purveyors of instructional Learn to Draw books in the world, and basically what's going to happen here is I've clicked on one of these. It's going to go through, and throughout the playback it will provide me with helpful hints in drawing. What you're literally getting to do here is kind of watch over the artist's shoulder. There's nothing that any better way to learn how to draw and actually get to see somebody doing it, and that's exactly what you're doing here. With the VCR style controls that we provide here, I can actually use this to, for example, temporarily stop to look at a particular iteration of the drawing, or I can single frame through it as well. And besides, you can actually use these same controls to record your own drawing. So not only can you show your friends a finished drawing, but you can actually play it back animated.
That is really cool. Now, we're seeing Dabbler on the Mac. It's available on Windows also, right?
Yes, both Mac and Windows.
Okay, now, if you've been watching the O.J. Simpson trial on TV, you may have seen the lawyers using artist sketches to prove a point. These days, most of those sketches are done on a computer.
As a youth, Doug Beckner had two loves, science and art. He worked as an illustrator for an anthropologist at Berkeley and found that he enjoyed drawing skulls. Then he discovered computers.
So when the Macintosh came out, I saw that with a laser printer and a word processing program, even you could typeset your own type rather than going out to a typesetter or using press type or something like that. And then, after I started getting into the computers a little bit, after a while, I saw that the software was getting sophisticated enough that I could actually do the illustrations using the software.
Scientific illustrations, while enjoyable, just couldn't pay the bills. So Doug found another outlet for his talents, producing graphics for attorneys. Clear, compelling courtroom graphics can make the difference between winning and losing a case, but they require a very special approach.
For example, if you're on the defense side of a medical malpractice case, you want to do something that will make the doctor look as sophisticated and as competent as possible without altering the facts of the case. If you're working for a plaintiff in a personal injury case, you want to do something that really shows the extent of the injuries as much as possible.
Producing effective graphics depends on effective collaboration between the artist and the attorneys. Drawings which might appear exaggerated or untruthful are likely to be thrown out of court.
I think a key difference between preparing something for a medical or scientific client versus one for an attorney is the fact that an attorney has to obey the laws of evidence. They have to not only make sure that a graphic meets certain legal restrictions as far as not being too prejudicial, not being too speculative, sticking to the facts that are available and on the public record regarding the case, but also that the graphic has to be able to get past the opposing counsel.
For the Computer Chronicles, I'm Victoria Smith.
We're going to turn now to some heavy-duty art programs for the professional. Rick Denny of Caligari will show us True Space for Windows, and Kevin Matthews of Artifice will show us Design Workshop. All right, Rick, so far we've seen, I guess, what are essentially two-dimensional art programs. You're going to take us into the world of three dimensions, correct?
That's right, Stuart. True Space is one of the first 3D packages that runs under Microsoft Windows that allows professional graphic artists to really work in 3 dimensions rather than just being constrained to paint programs or draw
and just on a
packages
desktop
2D.
without a big deal workstation, right?
Absolutely.
Let's start with text. Show us how you would do three-dimensional art using text, first of all.
Okay, we can use any TrueType font, and we simply type in
a famous logo.
A random text sequence.
Okay.
And we can still resize this and make it whatever we want to. Right now it's just a 2D vector graphic. We can add three-dimensionality to it, and in fact we can add a bevel and manually adjust that.
Mm-hmm.
And we can then dip the wireframe in a material.
Okay, so you just actually pulled up the letters, you created the texture, the dimensionality, and you're kind of putting a texture on top now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was
so it's
just a minute.
Just that simple.
All right, let's go off the letters now and actually design something like a space shuttle kind of.
Okay.
You always see space shuttles in these design programs.
Go ahead and we'll push this into the background.
Okay.
And we will take a square, sweep this out, scale down the top face. Going to select one side, move this around, and select a second side. Sweep both of these out simultaneously.
Now you have to kind of know what you're doing here, right, with what you're doing now, Rick?
A little bit, although this is one of the basic tutorials that we have in our manual, and anybody can do this. If you make a mistake like me, you can undo pretty simply. And this next step is kind of an interesting feature. This is our freeform deformation or organic deformation.
Whoa, there you go. You just pull it out.
Pull this out and it will just bend around nicely. And again, we can just dip this.
There's our shuttle-like object, and you can just put a surface on it?
Absolutely. We can dip it in any material we have.
That is amazing, good, and fast. All right, you do something, you mentioned deformation. You have a kind of deformation you can do that's really cool here. Show me how you do that.
Okay. Again, we'll just staying in the same workspace, we'll just move this back. Going to go ahead and just take a very simple sphere. Take another one of those deformation lattices. This one is just an invisible object standing in the workspace. And what this lattice is going to do is it's going to make this smaller.
So you're going to actually pull that sphere through that energy field, if you will.
Exactly. And to help me do this, I'm going to take some different views. We can have a lot of different views here. Take a side view. Go back. And just kind of thread this through here. And now we can preview this animation.
Ooh, yes, that's great. Huh.
And we missed it a little bit. We can just go back here and pull this over.
All right, real quick, finally, show me an example of a finished animation, a kind of flying logo you might have created using TrueSpace.
Okay, well here's, go ahead and here's some text. These are Microsoft Video for Windows files or AVI files that you can play back on any Windows machine. And this is a flying logo that someone in-house did for one of our business partners.
And all created just using TrueSpace, huh?
Absolutely.
Rick, that was great. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, Stuart.
I want to go over here and take a look at Design Workshop. Kevin, how you doing?
Howdy.
Okay, what you really have here, I mean, we've moved from 2D to 3D, and you've really moved into a real virtual space, haven't you? I mean, this is live space.
That's right.
Show us how you use it.
When you look at a new file in Design Workshop, you see that we actually have a three-dimensional world behind the screen. It's a perspective like the Star Trek holodeck, and when I pull with the eye tool, I can move around that quickly and easily as if I was in there. The main tool that we use in the three-dimensional space is this 3D crosshair. You can see as it gets out near the horizon line, it's getting smaller. It's really in the perspective of the model space. And our drawing methods really add up to kind of a McDraw in 3 dimensions. So I can drag out a rectangle there, and then with the Option key, I can pull it up, and because it's alive, my whole sense of design proportion is engaged.
Perspective is there in real time.
Yeah, and just like to resize a McDraw rectangle, you'd pull on a corner handle. In Design Workshop, you can pull on the corner handle of a 3D object. Maybe I want this to be a roof, so I'll grab one of those edge handles, pull that edge into the middle, pull the other edge on the other side into the middle there. And we're starting to build a little building here. Just with the block tool again, I'll come in and put another piece underneath and pull that down. The projection lines let me see its relationship to the ground plane. Now we're looking at this in wireframe, but it's really a solids modeling program, and here we see this as a solid. Let's take a little farther. We'll take that roof and stretch it out so that we've got a porch in front there. Porch needs something to hold it up, so let's go to another file I've got open. We support multiple models open and multiple views of them. I'll copy that column and paste it into the world here, pull it forward a little bit, and let's get a row of those across. So linear duplicate command.
So you can just sort of copy them, huh?
Yeah, and I'll just say whether I want it to go north, south, east, or west. And there's some columns. Now the last thing we need is a little bit of extra structure on top of those columns to connect them up to the roof. I can't really see how high that needs to go, so I'll use the Fit Object Upward command to shoot it up to the roof. And now let's go in a little closer, see what we've got. It's kind of cute, but it's not got very much room inside.
Yeah, you've got something great called Wallify, right?
That's what we're about to use, yeah. Okay. So the Wallify command basically takes that mass and turns it into a set of walls in one quick action. And once I've got walls with the opening tool, I can come and cut an opening there. So there's a door. And now that we've got an inside, let's swing around the back with the eye tool. It's real easy, and go ahead forward in. And
there's the space inside the structure.
Yeah, and now we maybe want to see out a little better, so using the opening tool again, I can just cut a window there and cut another window. And let's throw some shadows on this to see what it would look like with the sun shining in on it. And that's power max speed there, calculating those shadows.
Wow, that's pretty powerful. And again, this is real time. You just created this thing from the blank workspace.
That's right, starting from nothing.
And here we go, you got a 3D structure. Fantastic. All right, that's a design workshop. Thanks a lot, Kevin. And that's our look at the latest in computer art software on this week's Computer Chronicles. I'm Stuart Chaffee. We'll see you here next time.
Computer Chronicles is made possible in part by Hewlett-Packard, developing technology that lets you manage your PC from anywhere on the network, anywhere in the world. HP PCs, you're taking a close look at remote management.
The Computer Chronicles is also made possible by the Software Publishers Association, providers of educational materials to help manage software. Don't copy that floppy.
Videocassette copies of this program are available. Computer Chronicles also publishes a companion newsletter containing details on products demonstrated and information on program topics. To order a videocassette or a newsletter, call 1-800-800-9520 or write Computer Chronicles. Please specify program subject for tapes. All orders include a free software program for auditing software use and information on the definitive guide to keeping your organization software legal.